Jira Align, a product information session and introduction brought to you by Avant Systems Group. Today we're going to talk about the Jira Align product from Atlassian, how it helps the entire organization to work towards the same business goals together. Let's get started. First off, a quick agenda. We'll do a brief introduction to Avant before jumping into a quick product overview of Jira Align, its strategic outcome and alignment capabilities and features that support that. And we'll close off by talking a little bit about how you can get started with this product. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A and we'll address them at the end of today's session. Of course, the recording will be available to everyone on our website at avant.ca. We'll send that out after the webinar is all done. First off, a few introductions. My name is Adam Rothenberger, Marketing Manager at Avant Systems Group. I've worked in a few different marketing areas in my career, notably in the graphic design and digital ad spaces. In working with Avant, I've obtained several Atlassian certifications and accreditations. In my spare time, I enjoy playing a whole lot of guitars. Also with us today is Mr. Maurizio Mancini, Enterprise Agile Coach with Avant Systems Group. Maurizio has been an Agile coach for the past 15 years with a number of Atlassian professional certifications and other certifications to his name. Maurizio is an all-around expert with Atlassian brand tools, including Jira Align, and we'll have him on toward the end of today's session to answer any questions you may have about the product that we're demonstrating today. About Avant Systems Group, we're an innovative IT consulting company specializing in Atlassian products. Our growing team spans coast to coast here in Canada with employees in 6 different provinces. Our expertise comes from nearly 30 years of software development and consulting, the last 10 of which have been near exclusively in the Atlassian space. We're passionate about software development tools, processes, and sharing that expertise with our clients to drive their success. As an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, our people have extensive experience working with, implementing, and supporting Atlassian products for a broad range of customers and across a wide range of industries by way of the services you can see here. We work to distinguish ourselves by providing exceptional service and expertise in licensing, setup and configuration of Atlassian products, product migrations, post-purchase support, and custom configurations for products in the Atlassian ecosystem. If you're working with or interested in working with Atlassian tools in your organization, I would encourage you to reach out to us for partner purchasing advantages and a single point of contact for Atlassian product support. The products we promote, of course, come from Atlassian. We deploy Atlassian products like Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket for organizations to provide solutions in several different areas like those you can see here. And finally, a quick note about the Solution Partner Program itself. Atlassian doesn't deploy a dedicated support branch of its own, instead training and relying on solution partner organizations like Avant to provide expertise and hands-on keyboard assistance with everything in the Atlassian ecosystem. There are a number of advantages in working with Avant for product procurement and configuration, including licensing discounts, a single point of contact, and post-purchase support for all your Atlassian products. If you're using Jira, Confluence, or Bitbucket now, or Jira Align for that matter, if you'd like to deploy these in the future, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help. So now that you know who we are, let's jump into today's content on Jira Align. Jira Align is a platform that aims to empower all different kinds of teams. Everyone from software devs to executive teams are represented in Jira Align, making sure that work is visible and shared in the interest of innovation and transparency, and trackable, measurable, and collaborative as a result. In a nutshell, it's a product that ensures work is aligned to your business strategy. Jira Align allows organizations to drill into specific layers of scale from the top down while linking strategy to execution. People, work, and time are separate hierarchies that cut across the organization. Diving into the platform, Jira Align is a cloud solution accessible with a standard web browser. Users navigate Jira Align using the role-based menu on the left, organized in levels of agile scale from enterprise, portfolio, program, and down to the team level. A user can use context filtering to get questions answered like what's the status of my initiative or what's being planned for the next quarterly increment. You can do all this via the configuration bar at the top, where you can select a portfolio view, a program or programs, a team or multiple teams, all tied to a specific time frame. You can also set up your organization's top-level strategy and track progress against objectives, as well as the progress across all program plans in your portfolio. Users can create and prioritize work for current and future program increments and manage the backlog directly within the product. And the development and refinement of the backlog automatically generates a roadmap, which you can change to fit requirements. Once a roadmap is defined, teams can plan together on the digital program board, enabling the PI planning and execution process for each PI. Dependency maps highlight any bottlenecks that might exist, as dependency management is an important part of ensuring that there are no obstacles in the way of completing committed work. Finally, the data that's collected between Jira software and Jira Align syncs up to create several executive reports that work in near real time. So that's a very quick, very high-level explanation of what Jira Align is and does. Now we're going to look at a few of those areas a little more closely. We'll start with how you can manage the strategic intent of your organization and how Jira Align helps to keep strategy in step with execution. This is the strategy room for the enterprise. Rooms like this can be found in each of the menus on the left. In this room, you can view, add, or change your mission, vision, and values for the organization. You can track execution against outcomes over here, and you can see progress snapshots of different work level items. Your strategy can be created, modified, and prioritized within the strategic backlog. An effective strategy includes goals where decisions are made and prioritized. These goals are aligned with investment themes, which work can be connected to. Creating and maintaining these connections is vital to making work visible and ensuring that everyone's working toward the same shared outcomes. Once goals and themes are set, product and portfolio owners and solution or release train engineers can break these down into the largest work items. In Jira Align, you can actually custom configure item names, but in this case, we've decided just to call these large work items portfolio epics. Back in the strategy room, organizations can define and measure objectives and key results directly from here. The OKR heat map provides a visual overview of your progress toward achieving different strategic goals and objectives, PI over PI. Drilling down within the OKR tree, it can show you the alignment of team level objectives and key results at the team, program, and portfolio level, all the way down to strategic goals as well. Next, we'll look at program increment or PI planning in Jira Align and how that works. Planning ceremony usually involves the agile release train, aligning teams to a shared mission and vision. During PI planning, management and teams will collaborate to set a common goal, define dependencies, identify risks, and declare objectives. The first thing we need prior to planning a PI is a prioritized backlog of work, which we can start in the Jira Align feature backlog. Here you can refine and prioritize features and schedule unassigned work into the PI. Once we have a set of prioritized work in the backlog, we can review that work from the program board. The program board is a dynamic area that gives us a view of the PI's overall health. Release train engineers can check to identify issues at hand, work that could be impacted, and the teams that are involved. With this info, a release train engineer can work with the teams to resolve blockers before the next sprint and ensure delivery. The program board helps to coordinate work across teams, especially once work begins at scale. There are often hundreds of activity streams and thousands of moving parts to keep teams aligned in real time. So the program board ensures that changes in scope, current priorities, and goals are visible across the teams. On the right, you can access a legend that provides an understanding of what's on the board and the statuses of those specific objects. And Jira Align also allows you to manage the entire PI planning and execution workflow through the program room, which is your base of operations throughout a PI's execution phase. Continuing on, let's take a look at Jira Align's features for dependency management. In Jira Align, a dependency is a service or a component that a team needs to deliver functionality, but they can't create it for themselves. So they need to rely on another team to deliver it. These dependencies can be mapped out and managed using Jira Align. When a dependency is created and requested, the requester and the respondent negotiate a commitment to resolve the dependency by a specific time. You can map dependencies between teams, programs, and external entities. Dependencies can be managed through several views. In this view, we can see all the dependencies as part of our mobile program or team of teams. Within this specific program increment, we're able to see what the dependencies are, what teams have requested which dependency, what teams depend on it, and also what the status of these dependencies are. We can also look at the wheel map, which lets us visualize dependencies in real time. Every dependency in this wheel map begins as a red connector. Once there's an agreement, they turn blue and let us see the relationship between them. If we click on one of these like we've done here, we can see any outbound dependencies that exist, work that others need from this team, and also inbound dependency work that this team needs from others. Another dependency view you could look at is the grid view, which can highlight issues that might impact future increments, like an unusually high dependence on one team, for example. Dependency relationships are also visible on the program board, represented by this chevron symbol. The board helps to coordinate work across teams, especially once work begins at scale. To keep teams aligned in real time, the program board displays changes in scope, current priorities, and goals for transparency between teams. Just to show a quick example, here's what it looks like when a dependency hasn't been committed. Jira Align creates an instant lift in an organization's PI and execution process using these dependency management features. They make sure all the work has clearly defined commitments and that dependencies are visible and communicated. Now let's talk about Jira Align's tools for value engineering, the basic goal being to improve efficiency and decrease operating costs through analysis. In Jira Align, value engineering can be performed on different work objects such as initiatives and epics to improve function and lower costs. It can be used to determine if these work items are worth building. In Jira Align, you can build a value hypothesis using an intake form that walks you through several questions designed to help you find the right answers. So let's take a look at that. Coming into this existing initiative called AI for Improved Call Center Interactions, we can drill into the Details panel and look at the value engineering form. There are 3 basic steps and principles in value engineering. The first is to create the hypothesis, quantify what the value is, and examine if a product delivers value that customers want to use. Next is setting bets. We can test our hypothesis with experiments, track expenses, research methods, and analyze confidence. And finally, we can decide if we want to pivot or persevere, at the same time learning what's providing value and what isn't. If we decide to continue investing, we can track estimates against actual spend here as well. Now, once this is complete, we can drill into our value engineering report, which provides charts to help analyze initiatives or ethics. Based on the selected work item level, we can look at the allocation in terms of value and effort. We can look at estimate versus actuals, effort versus value, and the trend here too. With value engineering, an enterprise can make incremental investments in small experience to test product ideas. So instead of funding massive projects and spending money on ideas that may not work, companies can reduce spending on ideas that don't work and increase spending on ideas that are easy to back and derive clear value from. Moving right along, Jira Align also has a feature called roadmaps, which are designed to give users a visual representation of how their work objects line up against themselves in their current program increment, and also how different pieces of work might relate to each other. If you've used the roadmap view in Jira Work Management, this will look a little bit familiar. Roadmaps in Jira Align are organized into 3 main verticals: planning up front, tracking while work is being done, and reporting throughout. Project managers use this for planning and monitoring, and as we refine and develop backlog, Jira Align automatically generates this roadmap, which can be modified to meet current or future requirements. Here is an example of a live roadmap that has work objects tied to this mobile PI. Roadmaps can be viewed by month, by quarter, or by sprint, or by quarterly or program increment view. It can be viewed also by different scaled hierarchies, such as your themes, epics, features, or a nested view of those work objects. Within the roadmap, work objects can be adjusted, and changes can be applied to Jira with a simple click of a button. There are some other views as well, one of them being quarterly highlights. This view summarizes work that's being delivered or completed for this PI, as well as all the highlights and objectives. And we can also look at the release event, which provides the ability to drill deeper into the release vehicle and summarizes stories, highlights, and the overall work that's tied to that specific release vehicle. The roadmap can also be used to plan scenarios too. By detaching this instance and making a copy of the roadmap, you can edit and experiment without making any real destructive changes to the data. Now let's look at how we can monitor risks. Risks are influencing factors that can adversely affect the outcome of your delivery. Tracking them helps improve team visibility and drive more effective mitigation efforts. In Jira Align, risk is displayed via the risk grid. You can view status impact, the owner, and other risk data here. You can also filter the list or search for a specific one. If you drill down to a specific risk during the creation and intake process, fields like what you can see here can be filled out with various information and a risk category. To view all the risks within a PI and the relevant category, we can drill into the risk ROAM approach. ROAM is an acronym for risks that are resolved, owned, accepted, and mitigated, and the risk ROAM report shows all risks by the ROAM category that they're assigned to. These three charts at the bottom here show which risks are open and closed, the risk of occurrence, and the impact of an occurrence. Jira Align also has the ability to track work progress, such that portfolio leadership can understand the current state of strategies or goals and their associated work items. Portfolio Room here is a command center for monitoring all portfolio activity, like we mentioned before. We get a clear view of the progress from three different perspectives: financials, resources, and execution, using a variety of dashboards and graphs. The portfolio room gives us a high-level view of our progress, but if we'd like to drill down into actual work being delivered, we can check out the work tree. Currently, we're in the strategy view, which shows us all the strategies that we're working on within a given span of time. Each long-term goal or theme has a progress bar for the initiative, epics, and stories, where we can see which strategies are lagging behind in completion. We can expand all layers of our hierarchy to get a complete view of progress at every level of our work and organization and how that affects our strategy. And we can look at program incremental progress, where information is presented by way of a burn down and burn up chart at epic and story levels. The burn down chart shows how we're progressing against an ideal burn line, and we can also see this from a burn up perspective from those epics to stories. If we see something troubling in these charts, we can get even more detail and view progress against programs, themes, and initiatives within a program. So some of what we've shown so far probably looks a lot like some of the components that you can find in Jira software, and there's a good reason for that. Jira Align integrates with Jira software bidirectionally, which means data can flow back and forth between the two products. In Jira software, this is a screen showing a Jira epic called Integration Demo Video Epic. And this is that same epic in Jira Align. So data between Jira software and Jira Align flows bidirectionally, like I just said. So epic fields can be modified and details can be edited to reflect and sync in both products. And here's a quick diagram example of how the integration and connector works. Jira Align has objects on top in purple here that are only really relevant to Jira Align. These help organizations build out their short and long-term strategies and connect them all the way down to the stories. Epic objects and stories from Jira software map to corresponding features in Jira Align. I mentioned this before, but all the terminology in Jira Align can be configured to suit whatever is easily understood or makes sense for your organization. Atlassian partners like Avant Systems Group can help set up the connection and mappings between these two products. Jira Align, much like Jira software, also has a backlog, which is used to prioritize and manage your work items to accomplish your plan. Program increments and sprints build complete software that provides value to customers and constantly evolves to meet the organization's needs. This feature is predominantly used by product owners, scrum masters, RTEs, and product managers. In Jira Align, there are multiple ways to view the backlog. Right now we're looking at the list view, which displays ranked work items. These can either be moved via drag and drop, or they can be prioritized based on many different criteria. The backlog also has a Kanban view, which displays the work items on a Kanban board with a card system for regulating the sequence of work to visualize the workflow. And we also have access to the unassigned backlog, which shows work items that aren't assigned to a PI. The unassigned backlog is dynamic in nature, so new items will populate and reside here until they're assigned into a PI to be actioned. The last thing that we'll cover for today on the product is Jira Align's capability for reporting and analytics. Jira Align has many out-of-box reports that can help answer important questions. Are teams aligned with our business goals? Should we continue to invest in this initiative? Which initiatives are at risk and what roadblocks are ahead of us, just to name a few. Like I mentioned earlier, organizations can view information at team, program, portfolio, or enterprise levels and view that information by a particular increment or release. One report we can look into a bit further is the status report. The status report displays a roll-up of your portfolios over time and at multiple levels of detail, such as the organization structure, portfolio, program, investment, themes, and even a quarterly or program increment and drilling into those releases as well. These reports have two different views, the financial view and the status view. In the status view, you can see the list of initiatives with health indicators, track the progress, state, health, people, and see the overall progress of the program. You can also filter the status filter by PI dates or by specific date ranges. We can also drill into the financials view and look at budgets, estimate, actuals, and a lot more. Executives would use this data in these reports to review overall statuses of a portfolio and the various levels of hierarchy. The primary focus should include an evaluation of schedule, budget, risk, scope, quality, and the progress. If you're looking for something specific, on the left we have the ability to view the full list of available reports, which we can segment into different categories of scale. Finally, if you wanted to drill even further, Jira Align also offers an add-on called Enterprise Insights, which allows you to combine Jira Align data with other internal data and reporting systems. With Jira Align, organizations can generate the reports needed to keep themselves informed and keep up to date at every level and have the answers to critical questions. So that concludes our very brief tour of Jira Align, and hopefully by now you're wondering how you can get started with the product. To start with that, let's consider first if Jira Align is a good fit for an organization of your respective size. Jira Align customers typically have at least 500 developers who are using Jira software with an ongoing adoption to an Agile at Scale framework. This product is based heavily around large-scale software development enterprises. On this product, there are two different types of users. Full users who need access to use all the features of Jira Align that we talked about today and then some, and integrated users, those who only need team-level access to the product and will generally interface with Jira Align via other Atlassian tools like Jira software. These users are less focused on the overall strategy of the organization and more to the day-to-day execution of work. Their ability to access Jira Align as an integrated user allows them to gain visibility on overall strategies of the organization and see how their work contributes to those endeavors. So Jira Align prices users based on the number of full users you need on the product. And for each full user license, Atlassian provides 4 integrated user licenses for free on Jira Align. To acquire the product, you can, of course, go through Atlassian, but like we mentioned earlier, Avant Systems Group is an Atlassian solution partner, and we can help get the product procured and stood up for you, and also to get the product integrated with other Atlassian products your company's already deploying. So it's advantageous to engage us from that perspective to make the process easier, and we can provide also Agile team training and coaching services as well. So you're very much a one-stop shop for all things Atlassian and helping your organization work smarter together by communicating with us. And with that, I would like to bring in Mr. Maurizio Mancini, our Enterprise Agile Coach and Atlassian product expert, to answer any questions that you might have around Jira Align from today's demonstration. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A and we'll answer them here. Maurizio, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Maurizio, are you with us?
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks for coming, Maurizio. Appreciate your time here. Why don't we kick things off with a couple of questions that we tend to get from people who are curious about the product. One of them is, what if we need some of Jira Align's features, but we don't necessarily have a team that big?
So, as you already mentioned, Adam, generally Jira Align is for bigger teams, bigger organizations that have tens, 20s, and even hundreds of teams generally. But depending on how you set it up and how you configure it and how your teams work, you could use it for smaller organizations, but generally it is used for bigger. So depending how you configure it and use it, and depending how you split the work between your Jira Align users or the higher strategic view and your lower teams, you could still get benefit from Jira Align in smaller organizations. But definitely if you're very small, then Jira Align is not for you, that's for sure. Does
Yeah.
that answer that question?
Yeah, I think that covers it off pretty
Okay.
well. Atlassian has a pretty sizable recommendation on that. But if you have good agile practice in place and the tools are already really well integrated, as few as 30 full users could make use of the product. Next question that we've got is, why does Jira Align cost so much? Maurizio, what have you got to say about the costs surrounding it?
So again, it's meant for a large agile at scale for larger organizations. But the visibility and transparency that you'll get up into the upper planning areas is why you're paying for it. Really, if you bring everything together and you're able to see your hundreds of teams and the progress across initiatives and see how they're progressing, see any bottlenecks, track risks, and really tie them up into your OKRs, and really get that agile at scale view. That's the kind of functionality you're paying for. And that's the kind of visibility you're paying for, which is hard to get in very large organizations. So that's really the pitch that you get. But again, you gotta be wise about deploying it and knowing how to deploy it. Like any of these larger reporting tools, it's always a question of if you configure it correctly and you get good data from your teams coming up and your teams are working in a fairly similar fashion, you'll get good data. So the key is configuring it correctly and getting that visibility.
All right. Got it.
And I see another question from our panel that I wanted to answer.
Sure. Yeah, we've got a few more here. I think the first one that came in is, how does Align relate to Jellyfish Engineering Platform? Complement or compete against each other? Are you familiar with Jellyfish Engineering at all, Maurizio? Or
So yeah, so just quickly, it's a question of which platform you're using to track your work for your development teams. So Jellyfish Engineering is just another platform out there. I am not aware if it integrates with Align, and it probably completes slash complements at some level. But that's pretty much all I can say about Jellyfish Engineering at this point.
okay. Next question here: is the full user license for both Jira software and Jira Align? What if we have 7,000 Jira users, but a small subset that would use Jira Align?
So no, if you have 7,000 Jira users, you definitely won't have all of them using Jira Align users. So Jira Align has two types of users: the ones that actually work in Jira Align, and then the ones that, for all of those users that use it every day, you'll get X number of Jira users that can connect and share data across. So your 7,000 Jira users do not become 7,000 Jira Align users. The user counts are different, but you do have special licenses that are much reduced rate to allow the sharing of data between Jira software and Jira Align.
Okay. We have one more question. What's Align's best feature that's underutilized? What do you think, Maurizio?
So that's a small question, but it's a big question. It really depends. So I think the PI planning and the abilities to do PI planning as a train is one of the best features. Is it underutilized? I don't think so. I think also there's a number of reports that are sometimes underutilized in Jira Align. There is a lot of reporting in Jira Align, some of it sometimes underutilized. Let me answer also the last question that just came in just before we let go.
Sure.
I'll read it out, Adam. So does Align have to be installed by an Atlassian Platinum partner, or can a company install and configure Align on its own? So generally not recommended to install Jira Align, and I'm not just saying that because we're a partner. Jira Align itself does require, um, I'd say, a good amount of configuration, and if done improperly, you will spend time spinning your wheels. So that's why we always recommend, coming to a partner and, signing up for what we like to call those jumpstart packages. And then from there, we can get up and running a train within a short amount of time, as short as 3 months. But it does require some planning, some discussions. We need to review how your Jira is being used across the teams inside of the train you're trying to set up, assuming you're trying to set up a scaled organization. So there is enough work to be done and enough discussions to be had before you start using Jira Align. It is not a simple task.
That's a
I
great.
think that's our last question that we have in front of us.
I think so. Yeah, looks like
Okay.
that's
So
all
back
we've
to
got for
you.
today, unless anyone has anything else. Going once, going twice. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Maurizio, thank you again for joining us today. I definitely appreciate your insight and your expertise on Jira Align. And thank you to everyone else for attending. I hope you found it informative. Of course, if you're looking for assistance procuring Jira Align or working with anything else in the Atlassian ecosystem, please reach out to us at our website. We'd love to have a conversation to see how we can help. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great day.